Hey, Coupley Fit fam. Welcome back to another episode of the Coupley Fit podcast, where we talk all things health, marriage, and mindset. We are so excited. We have two guests today. Kurt, take it away.
So we're super excited because not only do we like to spotlight local, but we've got a husband and wife team, an amazing couple. I feel like being able to bring them here with us today is so incredible. So Josh and Shiara, we cannot wait to dive into your story, how you met, and also your businesses here in Arizona. I know a lot of people want to hear about just local concepts and places that they can go that maybe they haven't tried yet. And I know you have some of the best places to visit in the Valley.
We're so excited, so thank you so much.
Cannot wait. So I know we've been a little privy to how you guys first met, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about the story. I'm sure our audience is very excited to hear about it.
Yeah. So Josh used to have a nutrition club years ago, back around, I think, 2012, 2013. And he used to lead boot camps and workouts. And we had mutual friends. And so I used to come to his nutrition club and work out. And we were hanging out a lot as friends. And it kind of just evolved from there. And Josh was kind of venturing out to see if if we would date. And I kept kind of pushing him away. No, we're friends. I'm not ready to take on that risk of what if it doesn't work out. And so I would say his persistent won my heart.
We say the two P's, persistence.
Persuasive.
Persuasive.
Yeah. Persuasive. Yes. For so many people listening, we talk about that fitness component and being able to, Dee and I early on going to the gym together, even if we weren't doing the exact same exercises or machines, we're in the gym together. But I love that was a common component. Because we always hear people, where can I meet somebody? Where do you go? And sometimes it's like,
place.
Literally, you're at the gym, you can catch the vibe, the energy of the people you're around, and that can be maybe where you meet somebody too.
I think a group fitness type setting is ideal, right? Because look, you don't want to be in the gym and like, should I go talk to this girl? No. But if you're like in a group setting where it's group fitness and there's mutual people involved, that's like the ideal thing right there.
Safe space.
Yes.
Safe space. For sure.
Very much so. That's a great tip. I really appreciate that. I know our listeners will appreciate that as well, because they're always asking, again, like Kurt said, where can I meet people? And that's it's not as intimidating. Like everyone's intimidated by the workout, but we're not, but we're in this together, right?
Yes.
Like that community space.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, fitness is still a huge part of our lives today. We actually did a workout this morning and then went to an AA meeting. Yes. So we're still doing it. We're still doing the deal.
Just a quick question. What kind of fitness do you guys like? Do you like HIIT workouts? Do you like more strength training? What's their vibe?
Well, today we did a class, which Shiara's into classes, HIIT workouts and stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm more of a traditional weightlifter, bench press, squats, curls, stuff like that. But, I like it all.
Back to where it all started.
I love it.
Anything that gets the body moving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Class girl. But this morning I was able to talk him into coming back and doing a class with me. I'm like, just like we did back in the day, we're together and it's so much fun, looking over and we're working hard together and you just feel so accomplished. So it's nice.
Yeah.
That team building and that like collaboration together is so important. And even when it's outside of our wheelhouse, I know I went to a couple Pilates and aerial yoga class.
That's right in Phoenix.
Tested.
Wow.
It may really, push my boundaries. I'm looking up at the beam. I'm looking at the beam like, can this? I'm like, I'm looking at all ladies in the class.
I'm like,
dude, I'd be maxed out at yoga. I'd be like sweating.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And hot yoga, it gets me every time. Oh my goodness.
It is intense.
It is intense. So now we've been talking about kind of your dating and fitness, and that's how you met. But how, Josh, did you know that Shiara was the one?
Ooh. Okay, so we went for a hike. I planned this trip, and it was to Flagstaff, and I'm like, okay, hey, do you want to do a hike with me? And she didn't really know much about the hike. I didn't really divulge too much information, but we ended up hiking Humphreys Peak. And if you never done that before, it's an all-day deal.
Yes.
It's, up the ski resort of, Mount
Snowball.
Yes.
And I think it's like 3.5 miles up, 3.5 miles down, but it's, you're hiking. Mm-hmm. And so I planned this hike, and we had a great time on the way up. We're hiking through the trees, and it's like, we're asking each other questions, and sort of like, it's a great first date, the ideal first date. So we get to the top, and I think I kissed her for the first time at the top. And then I think even before I got to the top, I think I heard God speak to me, and he said, you're going to bring her back here in a year, and you're going to propose to her at the top.
Oh, my God.
And I knew right then and there that she was going to, she's going to be the one. She didn't know it, but
Yes.
anyways, so we did our thing at the top. We spent a little bit of time up there, enjoyed the weather. It was a beautiful day. And then on the way down, it was pretty hot. I think it was a warm day. I don't remember. Was it August or October?
Yeah.
Ooh. And we didn't take enough water. We didn't take enough food. We didn't use sunscreen. So we both got dehydrated. She got worse than I did. Sunsick, sunburnt. And so we're in the car. We're on the way home. She didn't say a word to me the whole way home. And I was like, this girl's never going to talk to me again.
No.
So fast forward a year, I took her again, and I proposed to her at the top, and the rest is history.
Oh my God.
I got one question. Did you have water on the second trip?
It was a lot colder. So
It was October.
It
was cold and windy.
So yeah,
Gotcha. It was perfect.
yeah.
Oh my
That's
God.
So we dated
incredible.
for a year, and we had a great, run, and I just felt like it was time.
Yes.
So we did it.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
I said
incredible.
yes at the top, but I said, please don't make me do this hike ever again. Like, I want to forget about this
This is
hike.
it.
Yeah, this is it.
This is my last time.
I love that.
It is a great hike, though, if you're
Yes.
ever interested.
Oh
So,
my
so I've
gosh,
got to ask,
fantastic.
what was your thought process in that car ride after the first date, dehydrated, coming down from the hit?
I had so much fun because he had put so much thought into doing that, which I had never experienced that before, honestly. And even though I was sick, he, like I said, he was persistent. He kept kind of asking me out. We would go on dates. He'd take me, to nice restaurants. And, I just was unsure if we should move forward or not. And I think I kept even pushing him away for a while. And finally, I think my roommates had said something to me like, why don't you just give him a chance? I mean, he keeps coming back.
Yes.
And so I think when I let that wall down and let him in, that was when really we grew close together. And it's funny because I had a vision board in my room at the time, and it had, I wanted to marry a godly man. And like Josh said, he was raised Jewish. So I think he had been looking at that like, how's this ever going to work?
Sure.
And it was all God, because when he had proposed to me, I'd prayed about it, and I just felt like God was like, if you take this, step, and I'll honor your guys' marriage, I'll honor this. So we just never looked back, and it was the best decision that we had made. So it's great.
Oh my gosh,
That's
God
so
is so
powerful.
good.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Oh, that's
And I
so
know this is
powerful.
gonna
I'm
be
getting chills. I'm getting chills. I love that.
And I know it's going to be a blessing for so many people too, because right now we have people that are both in relationships and are being inspired from the marriage aspect and everything that you all are doing. But then also there's people that are right now finding hope in your story and when you met, and the fact that maybe the first date, a little dehydration didn't throw things off track.
right.
Like someone needs that reminder of, hey, give somebody a second chance. Maybe take that
Yes,
wall
exactly.
down, or give that opportunity, because that could be your Mr. Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that.
So now, how long have you been married now?
July will be 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Together almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, together almost 10, and now but you guys have 2 kids now.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about your family.
So we have a son, Brody, he's 4, and then we just had a daughter in December. Her name's Capri, so she's 5 months, and it's amazing. Our son is our high energy, keeps us busy, and so far our girl, she's very calm and mellow, so we have that nice balance of
little
both, I
princess.
think. So,
Yeah.
She's not
Josh's
leaving the house
princess.
till she's 25.
Oh, of course. That's what I keep trying to tell him too. I'm like, he's like, oh, I'm not going to be too hung up if we have a daughter. I'll still be about you. I was like, we'll see. I mean, that's going to probably change.
So I'm curious, has that, we always like to ask, is having a daughter, is there do you feel like there's a battle for attention when you have wife, daughter, right? Like,
Or vice versa.
Or vice
too,
versa.
Right, sure.
No, I don't think so. That's one of the most beautiful things I think about our marriage, is that we're always connected in some way, even if I'm with the kids, and we talk so much, we spend so much time together. We're always either texting or, in the same room together, and there's always some sort of connection. I don't think there's any, battle for attention. I think the kids kind of bring us closer together.
They do. And we do things where we, try to come together. We're busy a lot with our kids, but my mom's always like, here, take a couple days. She's been trying, since we've had our daughter, she's been trying to have both of the kids. And so I finally just said yes. And so we've been able to spend the last 2 days together, working out, going to meetings together, just spending time and being here. So it's nice to have that, where I think some people who do have young kids, they're like, I can't imagine.
Sure.
I can't imagine traveling. You guys are traveling next month without your kids, but it's so important for us to be strong together so that we can be strong for our kids. I mean,
100%.
I think if we can show up for each other and give our 100% to each other, it's just gonna fold to to our children too.
Yeah, it's a priority. I think we try to prioritize time together, because the happier we are as a couple, the happier our kids are going to be.
Happy spouse, happy house.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that's like day dates. We do a lot of day dates. Our son's in childcare, and so while our son's in childcare, he'll say, "Hey, I have Thursday open. You want to get lunch together? You want to go walk around Scottsdale Quarter?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So even though we have our daughter, it's just like to have a little bit more of that time. It's so nice and refreshing. So definitely recommend that.
Oh my gosh. When I tell you, you two, everything that you just said, we just mentioned in maybe one or two podcast episodes, and we said the exact same thing. Because we always say, again, we don't have kids, so we understand that it's going to be a different schedule. So I'm so glad that you were able to kind of reaffirm what we were saying is like, the date nights turn into date days. And it turns into like those small moments that you can really just appreciate. And it's like, oh my gosh, look at also what we created. Like we did this and we created these two beautiful beings. And now again, keeping your relationship strong and that connection strong, to your point, your kids are going to see that and say like, oh my gosh, this is goals, right? That's couple goals in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's important too, because she came from, parents that never got married and weren't together. And so she, lives a lot with her father and didn't really have that experience growing up as a child to have both parents present. And so I think it's even more important for her for us to show our kids
to foster that.
We love each other and we want to be together. So
absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you sharing.
And thanks for sharing, because I think a lot of times, we have our conditioning and exposure from our experiences growing up in childhood and our families, right? And everyone has their own unique experience. But then it's like, okay, how do I take that and then create something different for my family? What does that next chapter look like, right? How do we turn the page, or how do we create a new routine or even behaviors? And so just hearing it in action and now what you all are doing with your kids is really inspiring for, I'm sure, a lot of people too. And the compliment of having, a business together and being in business together. I know that was something we want to hear more about for sure. How's that balance? You already touched on some of the major keys, the scheduling, the prioritizing each other, the quality time, even with kids and busy schedules. How is it being in business together? I feel like that's a whole nother aspect. True Color Concepts, business owners with multiple restaurants and locations.
Yeah, it's been a blessing actually. I don't, there's a lot of couples that, need time away from each other. And I think that's healthy. But for us, like I married my wife because I wanted to be around her all the time, And so when we first got married, I was running a restaurant, and that's my background, high volume casual dining operations. And I did that for a long time, but it required me to work a lot of nights, weekends, holidays. And so I was kind of on the tail end of that when we got married, and she's like, oh no, I'm never gonna see you. And so we took a hard look at like what I was doing, and I was like, I can pivot, I can do something else. And I got into consulting because I wanted to be with her. And so I was able to change my schedule, and that turned into me being a business owner and more of an entrepreneur, and it's been great. And then she worked for a national home builder after she graduated, and I let her talk about that. But
I got a 9 to 5 right after we got married, and like you said, he was working in the food and beverage industry and working nights and weekends. And I remember being newly married, and I'm like, he's going off to work as I'm just, getting home. And I just prayed about it. I mean, I kept kind of asking God to arrange things, and it had happened. He took on a consulting gig that then we became the owner of that business, and it kind of led from there. So I think if you're constantly putting out what you want, you'll receive those things,
Manifestation.
Yes, big on the manifesting. I mean, it was like, so the things that we wanted out of our marriage. And so it just kind of aligned itself. And then I was able to, when we opened 36 Below, step away from my corporate job and work with the marketing. So we were able to spend more time together. And even with our kids, it's like, I'm constantly dreaming about, I want to do this outdoor, patio grill because I want to have pizza night on Friday nights with our kids. I'm always thinking about these things that I want to envision because I didn't have that home because my parents were separated to, have the kids just be there. And I think we try to foster a home where they're going to want to grow up and just be home with us. Like, nope, can't go over. You can come to our house, but it's Friday night's pizza night at our house, So just constantly creating those things is really big for us, what that looks like.
Oh my gosh, fantastic. That is it, and it's so beautiful too because you are, to your point, the manifestation, right? And the praying on it. And I know even today we were in the Bible app and the verses today was talking about, like, give all your anxieties to God, right? And just continue to speak to him and speak what you want to happen for your life, and it will eventually come. And we always say you have to work the works, though, right? Like, people think if I pray about it, then that means it's going to happen. And it's like, it may not be right now. It may have to wait a little bit. But again, the manifestation piece is so key. And I know that's kind of a buzzword going around right now, but a lot of it for us, at least being, in the church, is going to be more of just prayer, right?
Yes.
And really talking to God and having that one-on-one time with him too. So
we always talk about when we first got married, we had gotten this little apartment and we were working to just clear up our credit because our goal was we wanted to buy a house, and we would sit in our room at night and we could hear the guy above us playing video games all hours of the night, and we were just so angry. But we would lay in bed and I would just tell Josh, we would just say, you know what, never despise small beginnings, never despise small beginnings. And we would just like kind of say that over ourselves. And it was like when we bought our first house and we were in peace, it was like, okay, you know what, this is the start of our life. And so we always hold on to that, you know, we've grown this little piece of our life together, and it's just evolved so much.
oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
I love that small beginnings and not despising that, because so many times, especially in a social media era, instant gratification era, it's like everybody wants microwave success.
Oh, yeah.
And really, it's crock pot, right? It's slow cooked. It takes
is,
time. And I'd love to hear more too, Josh, on the journey of you all acquiring that business, because a lot of people have this idea that I'm going to manifest it, I'm going to visualize it, I'm the business owner, I have this incredible restaurant and it's packed. But like, where's that? What did that work look like between working as a consultant? Clearly, I'm sure there was putting work in and helping build, and then transitioning in the work to then be an entrepreneur and having all of it on you two's shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, I looking back, it wasn't the ideal situation. I think it was a little bit of luck, a little bit of being in the right place at the right time. I always wanted to, I think it's everybody's pipe dream that, you know, works in whatever industry they work in, they want to be a business owner of some type, right? And you're right. It's instant gratification. People think it comes like that. Being an entrepreneur is so the opposite of that. It's really grind. It's starve. Feed your business, feed your business. And there's so many lessons I've had to learn. But it's been a grueling process of being an entrepreneur. And I don't really think that initially that was the plan. It just by chance things worked out to there was an opportunity and a window for me to step in and take over a business. And then I was able to do that. And then through that, taking that first step, and then there was more opportunity for me to have a bigger part of that business. And then because of that, opened up more opportunities, and that's when 36 Below happened, and then the Rose Garden, and so forth and so on, and then the airport SIP. And so all these things opportunities started opening up the more I got involved and the more I was growing my business. But man, it's been a very grueling process. It's not all rainbows and butterflies being a business owner. It's very difficult, and it's you got to have the stomach for it. And sometimes, I don't know, you know, I question whether or not I'm the guy that has it anymore, because it can be so tough. You know, it's very stressful when you have employees and overhead and rent and landlords to deal with, and then you have legal problems, and man, there's just a plethora of problems to deal with as a business owner. So it's just like figuring out how to mitigate that and navigate through all that stuff. It's very difficult.
And a lot of people don't talk about that. I just appreciate you.
I really appreciate you sharing. I mean, it's a vulnerability too, because to your point, and I'm sure you're going to go deeper into it, a lot of times, like you said, right, we're seeing social media and we're seeing the highlights, and it's like all picture perfect, yay. Yeah. But then you're not seeing the behind the scenes, the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices that you have to make. And I remember for us, the amount of birthdays we've missed and family outings, and just there's so many sacrifices that the people don't see. And so I just really appreciate your vulnerability there.
Yeah, it's also very rewarding too, because we've had a lot of wins as well.
Yes.
You know, 36 Below and SIP 2 and all the things that we've done, we've had a lot of wins with, but it doesn't come without a lot of hard work. And so it's it keeps us busy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, we do want to give, I know you mentioned a few concepts, 36 Below, SIP Coffee, the Rose Garden. Would you mind, so True Color Concepts, can you give us, you know, almost, you know, I want you to just kind of talk your talk for a little bit about all your incredible accomplishments in both of you, because, you know, the marketing, and we want to hear more about that too, just of how you all have done it together, the vision, but also just all of the different concepts underneath the portfolio.
Yeah, True Color Concepts is a parent company for all the other stuff that we own. So Sip Coffee was the first business that we acquired in 2018. And as Shiara said, I came on as a consultant to help my now very good friend Travis and Tita, who were the founders of Sip. And I came on, they were about ready to open up their third location. I came in 11th hour, kind of as they were almost getting ready to open, and there was a lot of things wrong. And so that's kind of how I got involved right then and there. And then we already had the other two locations, which are still open. We've since then closed the Scottsdale and Shea location. And so I got involved with those two, and then I got involved a little bit more, and Travis and Tita didn't really want to be involved anymore, so I took over the businesses.
30, and then the other ones.
Oh yeah, and then 36 Below, there was an opportunity in 2020, the pandemic, when it changed the world, right?
I know.
Undertow, I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
They were subletting space from us down there.
Oh.
And they sublet from us for 3 years. Wow. And then when, they had already had Platform or Century Grand open, they had another concept in there, and they decided they wanted to have all their concepts under one roof, which was, I was super excited about because I watched them run a very successful business down there, and I thought, if I could ever get my hands on that space, I'd love to do my own thing. Well, sure enough, 2020 came along, and they decided to move out, and I was excited, which was crazy because 2020, as you know, is probably the worst time in the history of the world to open up a 600 square foot, 30-seat bar.
Yeah.
But I knew it was going to pass. And so we, my wife and I and our design team got together, and we came up with this great idea and conceptualized 36 Below. And it was so much fun in creating it. So much fun, right?
Yeah.
And then we opened up in 2021. And if I don't know, again, 2021, Arizona was one of 3 states that were open. Everybody else was still shut down.
Yes. That's right.
So it was us, Florida, and I think Texas. Well, people were flocking here just to go out. People would come here, spend a week here just so they could go out to a restaurant or a bar. And so we were wildly successful that first year. We did an insane amount of business, and then because of the success of that, I decided to open up another cocktail lounge. And so again, around this time, there was starting to be more of an explosion of cocktail bars and restaurants that were opening up. So as we were opening up the Rose Garden downtown, there was a lot of other competition going in downtown, and we opened up the Rose Garden. I think we opened in July of 2022. We've since then backed away from that business. We have some small involvement, but we sold most of that business. But and then the airport kind of came on. I think I've told you about that in the past. The airport SIP opportunity came along, and another experienced operator within the airport came to me and said, "Hey, I love your brand. I want to take it into the airport." So we worked together for a year plus, just kind of growing that relationship and getting to know each other a little bit, like me teaching them about the brand, and us kind of just getting familiar with each other, and we were able to open up the airport. And as you know, you've done that and been there. It's a grueling process. It's very political getting in the airport.
It is.
And I would not have been able to do it if I didn't have an already existing partner and there was in there that had owned some businesses already. So he was able to walk us down that path, and he did a very good job getting us in. And we opened that up. Gosh, I don't even remember when we opened that up, but about a year and a half ago in August. And that's also been wildly successful. So here we are. We've got SIP. We've got 36 Below. We've got the Rose Garden still kind of in the rearview mirror a little bit. But those are all the businesses and all the things we have going on right now. And so I think one of the things I learned is that we grew pretty fast, opening up 2 bars in under 2 years, year and a half. And because there was so much going on, so many people open up new concepts, the competition just went through the roof. So it became very difficult. And so I think hindsight, looking back, we probably shouldn't have opened the Rose Garden. And now we're just kind of seeing, hey, we really need to focus on what we have, strengthening operations within all the existing things that we have, and really focusing on marketing and growing what we have. So that's kind of where we're at.
No, I so appreciate, and I know we appreciate hearing the journey though,
Yes.
because that's one of the things that it's ever evolving and it's a process, right? And we're always learning, and there's always these elements, whether it's a pivot, it's looking at how we can improve processes and operations. One of the questions that I have too, timing wise, we always talk about this being in a marriage and then being in business together. When did you know, okay, we're going to now kind of jump 2 feet together. I'm going to leave my company that I'm working for and join you. Timing, like how was that kind of process, discussion, prayer? Would love to hear a little bit more there.
Yeah, prayer. That was another faithful moment. I mean, we were, I was helping just a little bit with 36 Below. We were doing the design, and Josh was talking about all the marketing, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I do marketing right now for a home builder. You could pay a marketing team, or I could leave and come on with you, and we could do this full time together. And that was such a leap of faith, but it was almost like it kind of felt a little natural to do. We just did it. I mean, on faith, really. And so, when I left my job and my son was about 6 months old, took that leap, and it was off to the races from there. And then we had opened the Rose Garden, and I was nervous because it felt so fast going, and we were just kind of riding this high, and got to a point where I felt like we almost were a little spread thin, and we still had a young son at the time, and so then we had this opportunity to open at the airport, and so it was like all these things were happening. We were spread thin, trying to manage teams and people and responsibilities, and I think we had to take a look like, wait a minute, I think we need to reevaluate what's most important to us and cut some back. And that's when we had decided that maybe downtown wasn't quite where we wanted to be, and we wanted to really foster 36 Below. That was important to us. And so with scaling back, it really helped us to kind of take a step back, look at everything, reevaluate, and then, navigate. The last couple of years weren't just the easiest business-wise. I mean, we shot out in 2021 with business booming and doing great. And it was like, as things were slowing down with the cocktail bars, actually SIP started to excel forward. So we were working on, the branding and kind of cleaning the businesses up, the locations and stuff like that. And with that, kind of taking a look back at 36 Below and what works. And, people really like this whole theme and this turn, and that allows people to come back and try our experience. So having to navigate that, we know we do very well with Halloween and the winter time, Christmas theme, those do very well. And then we're just trying to ride through, January, spring training time. And then what can we do in the summer to keep things going with just locals here?
Absolutely.
So it's a constant, with 36 Below, it's fun, but it's always a constant, we have to change things up. We have to change it up to keep people coming in and excited to try the next theme. So
Yeah, I remember that too. And in the midst of all that, we were also working with some developers at the time, intersection development. They're heavily involved in, what's going on downtown. We had 2 projects potentially going on with them at the time. So I thought, I need to build an infrastructure, a team. And we had a corporate office in Old Town Scottsdale. So we had a ton of overhead, and I was building this team to sort of go, and then everything just fell apart. People and places and everything just fell apart. So we had to pivot, and we had to let go of people. We had to let go of locations. We had to let go of our corporate office, and we had to really scramble to put everything back together and get, kind of regroup and focus on what was most important. And I remember that conversation when you decided to not go back to your job. We had a conversation about that. I'm like, you can either go back and help build somebody else's dream, or you could join me and we could go build our own. And we've never had to look back. Despite all the stuff that's happened to us, we've never had to look back. She's never had to go back to corporate America. So it's been great.
That's fantastic. So I have a question about, this can be hard not only on a marriage, right, but then also business owners as well. So how do you guys what are the conversations that you all have, or is it literally getting down and praying together? Kind of how do you work and overcome some of the struggles and the hurdles?
She is my rock.
Amen.
She is the voice of reason. God speaks to me through her. I'm the warrior. She's the voice of reason for sure.
I'm getting chills.
Family's number one. So my biggest thing is we were kind of spreading ourselves too thin. It started to worry me because I'm like, our son is most important. And if we have a second child someday, all this stuff will come and go, but our family. So when I started to see that the stress was coming into our family, that's when I was like, wait a minute, now I don't want to get to being resentful about these businesses, but now the stress is coming into our home. And so we had to really have some hard conversations and just take a look at, okay, what's most important to us? Family family's number one, and everything else, I mean, everything else will work. I just really believe that. I think that's maybe that trust, that faith in God, that everything will work out, but we have to make sure we're solid. We got to make sure our family is solid, home life is solid, and kind of work everything out from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the example that you're showing of also doing it together, having the critical conversation, but then coming out of that conversation on the same page. I think everybody saw a few years ago, right? Tom Brady's like, he's retiring. Wait, he's coming back. Wait, Tom Brady's not married. We were like, wait, what's going on?
Yes.
But it's kind of like, did you have the conversation? And then did we all get on the same page about what we're doing? So we love that you're able to share that it is coming back to that foundation of what's most important.
Yes.
What's going to live on beyond, a business or an opportunity, a location. It's our family. It's what we're building together. So that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we've touched a little bit on your biggest challenge, but I think a lot of people, because you mentioned earlier on in the episode that you both are sober now, and if you don't mind sharing how long too for both of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up a 10-year chip next week, actually.
Oh
on
my
the 12th.
gosh.
So,
Congratulations.
and she's right behind me too. So
Yeah. So I will pick up 10 years in the end of July. So
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is absolutely incredible. I'm so proud of both of you.
Thank you.
So I'm sure when people are listening and they're hearing cocktail lounge and then also sober, right?
Yeah, we've never got that
And
question.
I know. I'm
Big
sure,
mystery,
you get it all the time, but I'm sure just also some people, how can I navigate maybe also being in these spaces if I do go out with my friends or if I'm trying to also be sober? But then that's also what's happening now too with millennials and younger. It's a whole sober generation.
It's a great time to get sober.
Yeah.
It's
A great
really
time.
like accepted
Mocktails
time.
Yes.
accepted for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
No, but as far as being sober, I don't think I would recommend it for somebody new in sobriety. As a matter of fact, when I
Sure.
first got sober, I got out of the restaurant business, and I said I'd never go back. And I got
That's
into
smart.
fitness, and that's when I was kind of doing my nutrition and fitness stuff. And I did that for 3 years, and then I realized I'm good at what I do, and I got back into it. And I had enough sobriety and strength under my belt to go that route. But, I don't get involved in the cocktail side of things. I'm more the business admin side, so back office type stuff. I always say I'm the guy behind the scenes. The bar's not for me. It's not my place. I have people that do that. I have people that write the menus. We focus on branding and marketing and much bigger picture type stuff. So
Gotcha.
I love the business. I don't love that part. And that's okay. I think there's a lot of people that are in the business for that and they're passionate about drinks and, mixology and all that stuff. I'm passionate about the business side of it, and that's what I focus on.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have healthy boundaries. I mean, it's not like when we're down in the space, we've worked down in the bar before, but we don't get behind the bar. We
Right.
don't shake anything. We don't taste it. We have people who do all of that.
Gotcha.
The cool side of actually being sober is actually people in the industry, a lot of people actually have struggle with alcoholism.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we've had a lot of employees come to us and say, hey, I remember you guys saying you guys were sober. I think I might have a problem. What's your advice? So it's actually been an opportunity to be able to help people too.
What
They
a
say-
blessing.
And every test is a test can turn into a testimony, right? And I think being able to be that blessing in our years, Dee spent more years than me. I spent about 5 years in food and beverages. We've talked about Dee, I think 10
Close to
plus.
10.
But seeing it's it's on go, right?
yeah.
It's very free and loose in food and beverage as a whole. So being able to be an inspiration or to be able to be an example for a lot of people. And thank you for also being honest about that too. Because again, people show the social media and it's the lights but it's not the
hard
9,
work
10
that goes
years that you've gone into of making great decisions, creating healthy boundaries, creating great mocktails.
And we have a great team. We have a great team. We got a GM that's been with us for a long time. We have managers and GMs at SIP and all the big people that run the businesses. We have such a good team, and we put a lot of love and direction and guidance, and we have meetings, and there's a lot of development, and there's a lot of love that just goes into our people. And without our people, we're nothing, right? So.
Yeah.
And when it comes to people to that point, so I know there's listeners that there's so many people that want to be business owners. Like that is the dream. And I think you've already touched on some of the, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Mm-hmm. You have to have thick skin. You've got to be able to really be built to be an entrepreneur. But for someone that does want to go that route, what does that look like, knowing when to build your team? And maybe from your vantage point, you could look at it from growing really fast, team you have now, but for that person that's out there like, hey, am I ready to go and hire and bring on 2 or 3 people? And do I need to go and get funding or an investment right now? Or is it like, hey, bootstrap it as long as you can, try to build, and like any advice that you have from your vantage point in regards to that.
Oh, I think every industry is probably different depending on what you do. For myself, being an entrepreneur, I think the piece of advice I could give is starve yourself before you starve your businesses, because otherwise you're going to starve and be stressed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think there's a lot of times where entrepreneurs, they get involved and they get attracted to the cash flow or the money that they might make, and they bleed the businesses, and they don't have enough capital, and they're not capitalized for to be successful. That's why a lot of businesses fail in the first 5 years, is because they're just, these people are pulling all the money out of it and they're not letting the businesses breathe. And so that's been one of the biggest lessons for me, is to, put money back into the business and let it breathe. It's like having a little baby. You got to feed it, you got to nurture it. And that's just how it is with the business too. There's a lot of funding opportunities right now too. It's the SBA, I think when COVID happened, it changed that game. There was a lot of EIDL loans. There was a lot of opportunities that the SBA stepped in and created a lot of opportunities for small business loans. And it's very, I think, again, it just depends on how much debt you want to take on. If you want to take on investors, there's so many ways to structure deals like that. And I think it's about getting creative and figuring out what you want. I think it's very important that when you're doing a business, you want to get crystal clear on what you want. And it's kind of manifestation, right? You get crystal clear on what you want, and then it's just visualization, and then figuring it out, and then stuff just starts to happen. And I need this, boom, it's happening. And I need this, boom, it's happening. And so I think it's kind of organic too. So there's a lot of moving parts.
No.
Absolutely. And, as we're hearing more about, the work side and those things, one kind of buzz topic that always goes around is work-life balance, right? Kurt and I always like to mention integration, because I think that's really what it is, right? Like, balance means I have to kind of give something up and give a little bit more here. But if we can kind of integrate the business with your family life. So if there's any more, so how do you all do that? Is there an easy way that you guys do it, or it's something you've had to learn over time and just to figure out what works best for you?
Yeah, I'm really bad at it. Being an addict, and true story, addict, it's something that affects you in all areas of your life, right? It's not just, this one thing, it's all the things. And so, with work, I get super into it, and I'll work until the sun comes up if she's not telling me, hey, get off your laptop or get off the phone. So I really have to keep myself in check. She's a lot better at it than I am, but, we'll trade off. I mean, we work nonstop. We might work for a couple hours, and maybe I might take a call or an email at 9:00 at night. We're, sending emails to each other about approving, branding or whatever it is. But that's just kind of how our schedule is. But you got to know when to turn it off.
Mm-hmm. We try to have balance with the kids, not to have the phone out and sending emails, because when they look up at you and mommy, yes, are you, so sure. Just knowing to keep the computer away or keep the phone away. And, right now, this time in my life with our daughter being so young, I've stepped back even a little bit since having her, just to be a mom and embrace that. So, I had asked Josh, I said, I really would love to keep her home as long as possible. And so he respected that was part of my dream, is that I'm going to step back even a little bit more and be at home more with our kids. And, when he comes home, it's like he gets to come in and take on kind of those responsibilities with the kids, but I am kind of more the home life, that keeping that balance. He runs and operates the businesses. So, and then, there's sometimes where I'll kind of look at him like, okay, put the phone down or put the computer away, or, and that's why I love having kind of like the day dates. It's such a nice little balance, or something in the middle of the day to kind of break things up. So
absolutely.
So I do know exactly what you mean. When I get the door slowly opens to the office, and I don't even look, because I already know it's telling me like it's time to shut it
it's just
down.
Like the creak of the
creak,
door.
And I'm just already like, my fingers pause on the computer, on the keyboard. I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's way past that time. Yeah. I need to shut it down. But that's why that balance is important though, too, right? Because otherwise, like you're grinding away. But if you think about it and we pause, it's like, well, what are you working for? Yeah, it's for my family. And then it's like, well, wait, your family's waiting for you to be done to spend quality time. It's like, well, wait a minute, I'm trying to and you know, the calculation of the time.
Yes.
And it is a fine line, right? Because there's some people that are like, oh, I just want to spend all the time. It's like, well, we do have to keep the lights on, right? Like there's that work that has to, and it's total balance.
And most of the time we're aligned. There are times when I'll have a super long day and I'm just over it. I've got the TV on, I'm zoned out, and she's on her computer asking me questions. I was like, I'm sorry, I punched out.
Yeah.
So it's just, but for the most part, we're pretty aligned when it comes to, you know, being at home and turning it off.
That's fantastic. I know something we had to incorporate earlier on when we first started Coupley Fit, because we also started 3 months after our marriage. So we were like newlyweds, we're trying to figure it out, and then starting the business, we did just like a hard stop. So after a certain time, which it's kind of pushed back a little bit further now, but after a certain time, we just don't talk about business, we don't talk about anything, and we just kind of get back to, we always say like your love tank, right? And your relationship love tank, and just making sure we're fueling that as we keep going. But it is difficult. I mean, it's something that you do have to learn, and especially as you are adding in kids, right? It's like, okay, we have to just continue to figure this out as we go. But as long as you guys keep doing it together, right? Like that's the main piece and the main key. Yeah. Absolutely.
And one question I have too, what's one of the biggest things that you've learned about each other as husband and wife becoming parents?
Yes.
Wow, that's a good question. You go first.
Learned.
I think what I've noticed is I've always known my wife is a beautiful person inside and out, but she is just such a loving, nurturing mother. And she just has this amazing ability to be present and connect with our kids. And I love that about her.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you. Josh, it's been interesting with our son. He's, like I said, he's hyper active and, you know, navigating that now as he's getting a little older. And I always we send like each other parenting stuff like through Instagram, and I'll be like, hey, read this. And it's, you know, kids love play. And so, you know, learning, like if he gets down on the floor and plays with our son, it's like that just lights him up. And, you know, with our daughter, it's like so amazing to see how nurturing he is with her. And, you know, in the morning he'll get up and he'll come out and she's fully dressed and got a bow in her hair. And that just melts my heart seeing that. It's like that experience, like just seeing him dress her and get her ready for the day and feed her in the morning. It's the best feeling. So.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't do that with our son. You know, I think we were just opening 36 Below, and I was preoccupied. I was mentally like not there, I think, a lot in the beginning stages of his birth. But yeah, I feel like I can be a lot more present now with Capri. It's been great.
I said, you only get, you know, a 3-day-old baby. This is it, or a 6-month-old baby. So soak it up as much. And so he's really done such a great job of really being present. And Josh likes slower mornings. I like to get up and work out and do my things. So, you know, for him to get up and, you know, feed the baby while he's drinking his coffee, and to find those moments where he can slow down and just embrace.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Dee always tells me, she's like, when we have kids, remember, they say you only have 18 summers. And I was like,
I know.
Yeah. Yes.
Like,
is that
oh
right?
my gosh.
It kind of simplifies, because the days are long, but the years
are
fly
short.
by.
Yes.
So
Crazy.
true. It's so true.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So speaking of kids, one more question on the kids front. I see so much questions of tablets, phones. Is it devices? Is it like not for kids? Your experience as parents, and everyone has a different approach. How do you all feel that like things are evolving? Because I feel like right now it's so digital, right? Of like tablets, e-learning. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say right before we had kids, I was like, we're not going to have, you know, the tablets. It's a parenting thing. Like we can get through that without those. And sure enough, we had our son, and I was like, man, everything I said about people not having tablets is not true. So we do. And I think monitoring it really, you know, our son likes to get on YouTube Kids, and I'm always like, what is it, this obsession with this YouTube Kids and kids playing with toys instead of them just playing with toys themselves? You know, we use it as a tool, but we try to limit it. I mean, there's a lot of value when it comes to digital stuff, but I think I try to slow it down a little bit. I mean, because we are from the generation of still getting out and playing with toys, riding bikes and stuff like that. So, you know, even, you know, sometimes getting our son up, like he'll be wanting to watch TV, and it's like, let's go outside. No, I just want to stay inside. We're like, no, TV's going off. We're getting outside. So sometimes we have to kind of push him out. So really that balance of just a little bit, using it as just a tool when needed, but because everything will turn into, well, mommy, can I have it right now? If we're out with people who might like act up a little bit, because he knows if I act up, she might just give me this to kind of calm me down. So kids can be very manipulative. So
they got the drop. They know all of the.
They know.
We're taking all of these. We're making these. We're making these.
This is why we ask.
This is why we ask.
Times have
This is
definitely
honestly for our own
changed.
curiosity.
When I was a kid, we didn't have tablets or
There
something.
wasn't an option. There's no.
What?
You know, we rode dirt bikes and skateboards, and
Yes.
we played in the orange groves and whatever. We played outside. You know, kids today, they want to play on their iPads and their phones, and you know, she's right. It's a tool. I think as parents, we've been guilty to let them watch it a little bit longer, and our son is very active, and can be high maintenance. So it's like we kind of lean on that a little bit too much, but we're recognizing more and more that how valuable it is one-on-one and interaction and playing, and you know, him introducing him to sports. He's doing Taekwondo. He loves it. And so that keeps him focused and disciplined.
Yes.
And that's the kind of stuff that we want to keep driving and that's going to teach him early on, the discipline and the focus and all the things that he doesn't want to learn from us. He'll learn from sports. And so that's we're both athletic and we want, you know, our children to be as well. So
Very interesting. And he's also at that age too where he's getting that another boost of testosterone. So it's like, I'm just ready to be out and play and maybe rough house a little bit.
Yes.
That's
he loves the Taekwondo. He's super into Ninja Turtles. So he kept saying he wanted to get into it. And, you know, he's the youngest in the class, but he just, man, he gets out there and
he's smart.
He's sparring and putting on sparring gear and watching a 4-year-old get out there and spar with a 6-year-old. And it's so funny and fun. But yes, there's so much discipline in the sport. It's amazing. So it's been very beneficial just to get out of the house for a little bit. And, you know, we were using the iPad to kind of calm him and focus him, but finding the Taekwondo brings a lot, how that's such a powerful.
Good to know.
Yeah, I did contact sports growing up, and I just think there's a lot of any sports, right? Any sports, but contact sports is different than, you know, sport like basketball or football or baseball, because they have to rely on only themselves to be successful. And so that's what we want to teach him, to be reliant on himself, because nobody's going to take you by the hand and show you the way. So it's really important that he learns at a young age. So
I'm for both, because I always play
absolutely.
group. I always play
Right.
group, like, you know, sports. That's in a group setting. But yes, I think both. Josh wrestled, so that's where he gets that. I played lacrosse all through high school, so I'm used to being team. I think that's probably why I like group fitness so much. Just that camaraderie. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Dee played volleyball. I played football. But to your point, there is something.
There is something very different about the one.
It's like
kind
track.
of person.
When you line up, there's you know, unless you're in
track, tennis,
a group event
wrestling.
for track, like if you lose the race, it's
on
like,
you.
It's on you.
I didn't run fast enough.
Yeah.
When you're out there on the mat with someone quicker and faster than you, there's not a whole heck of a lot the team can do for you. When you lose, it's all you. When you win,
it's all you as well.
Yep. That's very true.
That's such a good point. No, I love the connection of the sports and also just hearing the different perspectives, because again, much like business, even on the integration of work and life, it's a learning process, right? And we're constantly trying to add what works, how do we do better, what are the things that we can maybe add in that can help us just essentially, you know, be better and live, you know, even more harmonious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. So now, as we are wrapping up here, what's on the horizon for True Color Concepts? And then also, as the family too, do you guys have any travel plans coming up or just anything fun that you're going to do too?
Yeah, for as far as True Color Concepts, we're just going to focus on what we have right now. I don't know if we'll do any more brick and mortars in the near future. You never know what's to come. We have some new partners in SIP. They're going to really help us grow that brand. Yeah. So we're working on some different stuff with that, maybe some licensing deals, maybe another location later on down the road. But we're, you know, like competition being the way it is, we're recognizing that we have to get like uber professional with marketing. And so both of us are learning together, you know, just how can we market our businesses better. And so we really want to focus on what we have right now and grow the business with both SIP and the locations that we have. But, you know, always entertain another location if the opportunity comes up. I don't know. Yeah. And then travel plans? Next month we're going on an Alaskan cruise, just him and I. So we're excited about that for our anniversary. So exciting, Get out and do some outdoorsy stuff. We were planning. I'm like,
okay, it's July. Where it sounds amazing in July, why it's hot here. And I'm like, let's go to Alaska.
Yes.
And
Brilliant.
just cool and
It's the
go see
complete
some
opposite.
glaciers. Yeah, hang out. So yeah, we're going to do some fun outdoorsy stuff. So
I love that.
That's fantastic.
And when people ask how hot is it in Arizona, I'm gonna be like, it's Alaskan hot. Like you've got to go.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
You gotta go
I
to
love that.
Alaska
I like that.
in
Yes.
the summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna use
Love
that
that.
when
Yeah.
we're in Alaska.
I love it.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Yes. Perfect. Well, thank you all so
Thank
much
you.
for
Thank
joining
you for
us
having us.
today.
Yeah, it was great.
As always, we just learned so much from you from work side and then also family side. So we just appreciate you both so much for being here. We wish you the absolute best in everything that you do.
Thank you.
All of our listeners, and if you're watching us on YouTube, if you are in Arizona, make sure you check out Sip Coffee, Rose Garden, but most importantly, 36 Below. That's our favorite. We love that place. So thank you so much for watching. If you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And as always, follow us on social media at Coupley Fit, COUPLEYFIT.